Personal branding is so important. If you are to become that girl, you need to get good at personal branding. And I highly recommend that you make yourself the luxury brand. Your personal branding is going to enable you to have opportunities and doors open to you. It also determines how you are treated. It determines your existence and how you navigate the game of life. I'm going to share with you some examples based on luxury brands that we may all know that you can help utilize to improve your personal branding. Again, as usual in the comments, if you can share any examples of personal branding tips or luxury brand examples that the girlies can use to elevate their own personal brand, do drop it in the comments. Okay, number 1, Hermes, the luxury bag company and accessories company. Hermes teaches you as a personal brand that scarcity and selective access is really important. Most women know and have an idea of who they are, but they are difficult to access. When I think about Hermes, I just think they're playing a smaller version of God in heaven. God isn't actually all access to all people. God is actually pretty difficult to access. It's not an open entry to everything. When it comes to building your own personal brand, I think it's so important that you as a woman, you have an air of being selective, and you are actually selective. Not everybody and anything that you entertain. Women who entertain anything and anyone, why? I think when you entertain anything, everything, anyone, it's because you have a need to people please. You have a desire to be loved by everyone, and you haven't actually filled that. You don't know who you are. You have a desire for others to validate your existence. Hermes teaches you not every person can actually have a Hermes bag. Not every opportunity you need to say yes. They control the show. They determine the rules. They control the show. I think fundamentally in building your personal brand, it's so important to be selective and also know what the rules of your own game are. What are the rules in your own game in having access to you? Who can access you? At what cost? And by cost, it's not just monetary cost, time. Who do you entertain? What do you stand for? This is so important. Fundamentally, women who win in the game of life, women who do a good job of becoming that girl, are women who are extremely selective. I think my second personal brand that I would add on to the list is Rolex. There is a temptation in becoming that girl to constantly reinvent yourself. I massively believe in reinventing yourself, but I think fundamentally there must be an element of timelessness. And no pun intended with Rolex, the luxury watch producer. Now, there are some people who would say Rolex is for a particular socio-economic group, etc. There are AP watches, there's Omega, there's Cartier, etc. But I've specifically chosen Rolex because of the timelessness and also because they remain classic, whether you like them or not. There is a temptation in building your personal brand to reinvent yourself every week. What Rolex teaches you in building your brand is to have an element of you that is absolutely timeless. And this is so important. If you think about it, I'm going to actually bring this back to God for one moment. God is timeless. He is who he is today, tomorrow, and yesterday. It just is what it is. As a woman, I think it's so fundamentally important to understand which aspects of you are timeless, which aspects of you are just fundamentally, foundationally true and correct. And this is so key because yes, you are going to grow. Yes, you're always evolving. Yes, you're always developing, but there has to be an element of you that's timeless, because you can easily get caught up in a wheel whereby you try to be something that you're not. You try to reinvent yourself to an Apple Watch one day. Then the next day, you're taking on the style of a Cartier watch. Then the next day, you're taking on the style of a Jaeger. The next day, you're taking on the style of an AP watch. No, maintain your standless, timeless piece in your personal brand. And this also means that it's more what I would call minute tweaks. That classicness needs to remain in place. I think when you have what I will call a blueprint about you, you are just able to resist the test of time. You are just able to withhold the various changes, because the world is going to want you to change at every drop of a hat. This is now in fashion. That's now in fashion. No. Be consistent with who you are. My favourite will have to be Apple. When it comes to personal branding and how I develop, I always think about Apple. You need to just start. If there is one thing that you need to understand about becoming who you are and building your personal brand, you need to just start. And then you develop and improve in each quote unquote relaunch. You develop and improve in every relaunch. God says, I think it's in the book of Ecclesiastic, farmers wait for the perfect time to plant, and they're always waiting for the perfect time, but they never plant. You cannot be a woman when it comes to becoming who you are and building your personal brand. You just have to start from exactly where you are. Press the launch button. This is in any aspect of your life. In any aspect of your life in becoming, just hit the launch button. Because if you're waiting for the whole house to be in order before you become that girl, you may be waiting for a long time for all the pieces to be in place. One of the fundamental things you must understand, you need to sow the seed in the ground today. Today is the day. And also, out of the parable of the talents, there's one of the men hides their talent. They're waiting, they're scared, they're afraid. With personal branding, you just have to go for it. And becoming who you're meant to be, you simply just have to go for it. Apple has been able to dominate the market and become what they are because of that ability to say, let's just launch from exactly where we are. And then what we're going to do is micro improvements. Micro improvement is another lesson that's so important to take from Apple. And it actually reminds me of David. David won Goliath because actually he was always in the field. And you learn lessons. When it comes to you, it doesn't matter whether this is your makeup. It doesn't matter whether this is your finances. It doesn't matter if you're learning how to do your nails. It doesn't matter if you're learning how to be an architect. It doesn't matter what it is you're learning. View it as micro improvements and micro relaunches. Let me explain. Fundamentally, over time, Apple haven't really changed anything. They've just got better. You have to ask yourself, with your personal brand and who you are and becoming that girl, are you becoming better? Is your skincare game improving? What are the micro improvements that you're aiming for? Because sometimes we do look for these drastic, I'm out, I'm popped out and I'm brand new. No. Gentle micro improvements and relaunches will enable you to win. Because this is again about ensuring that the seed in the ground that you've put in, you allow it to be pruned. You're not meant to rip the seed from the ground and throw it and then get a new seed. That means you never really grow and develop and bear the fruit that you're meant to bear. The seed that's in the ground is one that's meant to be tended and nurtured to. You're meant to tender and nurture yourself so that you can become her. Every time you start that seed from the scratch, remove that seed from the ground, you're delaying becoming who you're meant to be. David got to the point of being King David through a process, a journey of self-improvement and development under the house of God. Jesus also became Jesus. Jesus didn't become Jesus overnight. Jesus started doing Jesus from when his mum and dad, Mary and Joseph, were looking for him saying, where's our son? Oh yeah, Jesus was there preaching. You develop over time. Micro improvements will help you build your personal brand. I always think another important aspect of personal branding is not really trying to compete with anyone and change your standards. My favourite luxury brand that I would bring as an example has to be Ferrari. Ferrari doesn't compete on price. What you must fundamentally understand as a woman is there are millions and millions and billions of other women. But no one on this earth compares to you. Just because she's a woman, she's got hair, she looks this way, she doesn't compare, cannot compete with you. It is not possible. Ferrari understand that there are many other cars that can take people from A to B, but they don't compete on price. They are just Ferrari. And what Ferrari also position themselves is, if you cannot pay the price, Ferrari is not going to be lowered in price anytime soon. In fact, the price is just going to continue to increase. You must understand from the beginning of time. This is, by the way, one of my pet peeves. Never, ever lower your value when God has always said to you from the beginning of time, you are more precious than rubies. You want to compromise on the price, you are ruining your personal brand. Being cheap does not make you more palatable. In fact, being cheap makes you more likely to roll in the mud with the pigs. You need to understand the price that God set is high to stop you from rolling in the mud with the pigs. Every time you lower that price, you allow yourself to be open to rolling in the mud with the pigs. You're not meant to roll in the mud with the pigs. This is so key. So kind of think about Ferrari. And by the way, with this, it's really applicable in if you have a business. Many women think the cheaper I make it, the better it is. It's actually the complete opposite. It's actually the complete opposite. The cheaper you are with yourself, the cheaper you are with how you brand yourself in the world, the more you succumb and open yourself to anything and everyone. There has to be an element of exclusivity. And again, I know the religious spirits want to say, it's all access, one love. Jesus wasn't all access and one love. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's not how it works. Even the woman says to him, hold on a second, Jesus, come and heal my daughter. Jesus said, no, I've only come for one set of people here. This access is for one set of people. And she says to him, even the dogs eat the crumbs from underneath their master's table. And it's only at that point Jesus said, because of your faith, you've been healed. Who has access to you both in life and business? Be very deliberate, be very intentional about that. And I always say people change destinies. If you look at the whole entire word, people change destinies. So you have to have a clear criteria on who is within your circle. Personal branding involves knowing who you're speaking to, who is actually in the circle, who are you for? And understanding this will change the way you also move in the world. I also want to look at the other side of personal branding. I think one of the most important things when I study businesses and look at businesses is understanding your name is the most important thing. Your name is the most important thing. One of the names I can think about to give us an example when it comes to luxury companies is Bobbi Brown. Bobbi Brown and, if you're a UK girlie, Karen Millen sold their name. On this earth, understand when it comes to personal branding, your name goes before you. When your name is mentioned in the room, what does it mean? And never ever on this earth sell out your name for anything, for money, for anything, because it will impact your ability to move in the world. Also, one of the things, if you take from those two individuals, is God has put you in a seat. If God has put you in a seat, that seat is not to be shared. Bobbi Brown, I think she sold part of her company, perhaps to the Estee Lauder Group, and in the end was fundamentally kicked out of a business that she started. Karen Millen I don't believe she can use her name anymore. So if you are in a seat and you are the master, you are the head on this earth, never share your seat with anyone. God is not sharing the seat with the devil. The devil wanted to sit on the seat. In running your life, I promise you, the moment you see that someone wants to remove you from your seat, whether that be job, whether that be business, whether that be any situation in life, your personal brand has to be one that is such. I sit on this seat, I am the head of this seat, and you must never sell out your name or your position for anything in this world. It is so, so important. The last thing that I think is really key when it comes to personal branding, we're all going to depart from this earth at some point. What's going to be your legacy? What are you leaving behind? What are you going to be remembered for? What are you going to be remembered for? Because Jesus is gone, but we're still all talking about Jesus. So what impact are you actually making? I'm all for the luxury trips. I'm all for the bags. I'm all for the shoes. I'm all for enjoyment. But may you leave this earth and the impact and your name that you leave behind is such that people say, yeah, she made a difference. She was that girl and she made a difference to this community. So I also think it's so important to know, how are you impacting? Because it's all going to be said and done. When all is said and done, yeah, you had the shoes. Yes, you had the bags. Yes, you had the trips. Yes, you had the pictures and the selfies, and you did your thing, and you had the massages, and you ate the good food. But what else? What was your impact on earth? And I think when you have this in the back of your mind, knowing that Jesus made an impact on earth and you've been called to do more than eat and shop, you will move differently. You will start to think, well, actually, what is going to be my legacy? Because you're not going to take any of the stuff with you. So what is going to be the leaving legacy that you leave behind? It might be that actually you create a great business that impacts people's ability to have homes. You gave people amazing smiles. You did something. What is it that you are going to do in making sure as a legacy, your personal brand remains even when you're gone?